Welcome everyone to the Qatar 2022 World Cup show. I'm joined by my usual co-host, Big Fazman. How you doing?
I'm very good, my man. Very good. I just wanted to start by saying, get your face out, get your face out, get your face out for the boys. Oh, what a great start to the World Cup when you see a bunch of English fans getting arrested for doing a polite chant to a Qatari waitress. How beautiful. What a country.
Well, I mean, it's been serious news, hasn't it, in Qatar? We've got 5 POMs in custody. I mean, I've got to say, firstly, I'm impressed that the gentleman managed to PG a chant, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, they got arrested for that. Goodness knows what would happen if they actually did the proper chant. For those playing at home would know that it's not quite face, it's something else.
Well, I mean, we'll get stuck straight into that as everyone runs in, but we've got a new intro, so let's give that a run. Well, there we are, a bit of SBS. I'll tell you what, get me working for SBS.
Chills, mate. Absolute chills.
Well, I mean, we had a game yesterday, and we'll go straight in as the boys are in. We've got Danish sensation Michael Henriksen in chat, and Chris, you'll find out very soon. But obviously, the game kicked off last night, Qatar versus Ecuador. It was meant to be 1-0, according to the rumours, because Qatar had paid Ecuador off. But West Ham icon, Enner Valencia, with 2 goals, and Ecuador 1. So they sit top of Group A. What did you think of that game, Chat and Faz? And how do you see this group going?
I'll be perfectly honest. I was very nervous when that first goal was disallowed, and I thought, no way. There's no way that the rumored result or the 1-0 result was going to happen. But I think, look, Ecuador just played with them. To be honest, I'm not sure we can read much into Ecuador. More so, Qatar. That they're not on their home deck. They're not a great team. The 33-year-old Enner Valencia looks like, in his prime. You're in a bit of trouble. But no, look, they've got their 3 points. They sit on top, and now it's up to the other teams to try and chase them in the remaining group stages.
It's going to be interesting as well because, I mean, at the start of the tournament, I thought Senegal were going to be the team to beat in here. But obviously, their icon, really, Sadio Mane, not fit for this tournament and a lay out. It's going to... That Ecuador win probably puts them in pole position now, doesn't it, to face the winner of Group B. And they've got it all to play for, really. It was an important 3 points.
Massive 3 points, because I actually like this group. It's a nice, tidy group. You think the Netherlands should finish the top of that group. We know they can be a bit flaky at times, but it's going to come down to Ecuador and Senegal. I think that's going to be an absolute monster match, because if one of those can get the 3 points over the other, that probably seals up their second spot, assuming the Netherlands do what we expect them to do. Mane being out is absolute criminal for Senegal. You want to see the best players play in the best tournament, and it's just a shame.
It is sad, isn't it? I mean, you don't like the late starts. And I mean, it was kind of inevitable it was going to happen, though, isn't it? Playing the tournament in the middle of the biggest European calendar. I mean, I'm surprised we've got as many players as we have. With a tight fixture list, I did actually expect a few players to get mysterious niggles from the bigger clubs.
Yeah, look, you're right, and you're seeing the likes of Benzema and and the likes of that being injured, and I think it's what's going to happen really with playing at this time. And I'll be honest, with a few West Ham players over there, you just hope they can get through unscathed and so on.
So who are you picking here? We've got Mr. I'd imagine we're both going Holland here to top the group.
Yeah. I think Holland, definitely the Netherlands, have whatever you like to call them. I think they'll top the group, and to be honest, I think Ecuador will get second spot, because the Mane loss is just too huge for Senegal, and I think banking that 3 points. So
it's spot on as well what Beach is saying here. Like, I reckon you're going to see some more as well. And I think with club football, you could see a bit of pressure. I don't think you'll see like the years gone by where players have played hurt towards the pointy end of the season. I think you might see players pull out as quickly as possible, especially with all the title races in Europe as well are quite tight. There isn't a defined winner of any European league at the moment, which makes it a little bit harder for these international teams. I agree with you. I think Ecuador, I think that was quite a resounding win. Quite a resounding win for Ecuador. I was surprised at the start of the game. It was not many people. There were $2.50 to win that game. And I was like, Qatar are pants.
Yeah. I think Qatar could possibly be the worst team to ever play in a World Cup, to be honest. And they're only there because they're hosting it. So, and that's a pretty big statement, considering I don't really rate the Socceroos squad at all, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, I think Qatar, they're definitely just there for the sake of hosting it.
Well, let us know in chat who you think 1 and 2 is. We've got PeterV. He's going with the Dutch. I think that's safe. I mean, I think under Louis van Gaal, I don't think they'll make mistakes. But we go on to Group B. That kicks off tonight. England entertain Iran at midnight our time, and then 6 a.m. If you want to get up, you can watch the Yankeroos, we'll call them, versus the Welsh, which this is actually interesting. The tightest group as per the world rankings. Only 15 spaces separate England from bottom ranked side Iran. So no pushovers, Iran. And technically, you can be a very harsh, but I mean, it's technically a home game for Iran, isn't it? I mean, they're not a million miles away from Qatar.
No, to me, this is my favorite group. It's the tastiest group we've got, the tightest group we've got. England, Iran, USA, Wales. I think just absolute. I think I wouldn't be surprised if every game's a draw that they play, to be honest. I think it's such a tight group. Part-time supporters will probably look and say, oh, England should be winning that group, but that's disrespectful to the likes of Iran and Wales, and even the USA. They've got some good players running around for them, and England are not in great form. I think tonight's game is massive. You talk about Ecuador getting the points last night. I think England have to get 3 points tonight. If they don't get 3 points tonight, it's going to be dangerous, because, they do traditionally struggle against the US, England, and anything could happen in the big grudge match against Wales. So tonight's huge.
It's part of England's reparations for World War II, I think, against America, that we concede a late goal to enable a draw international fixtures. But, I mean, I agree with you. I think the worst case scenario for England is that they draw tonight. They start slow, Iran get the jump on them. We've seen that from England at a few major championships, that they're very tentative. And under Gareth Southgate, they're more tentative than most England sides. And I can think if it's a 1-1 draw, I'd say it's disaster. If England go out there, I think England will go out and they'll put on a performance against the Iranians tonight. I think it'll be whoever wins their first round games is going through. I think the Wales-US game is entertaining. The Gareth Bale factor. Wales, for me, fall under that category of not a great individual team, but incredibly good team. They work hard together under Page. He's got them. They're a tough team to beat.
Yeah, Yeah, they are. They are tough teams, but they play for each other. And I think, like I said, any team that's got Gareth Bale in it, he's that. And I don't want to mix my words here, but he's that Ronaldo, Messi type. Any team that's got him in it, you wouldn't put it past him. All it takes is an absolute screamer, and it's game on.
Well, Bale's one of them players for Wales as well, that he does go, he plays a lot better. That famous sign he held up, Wales goal for Madrid, you can see that is true in Bale.
Yeah.
When Bale plays for Wales, he is another level of footballer.
Yeah, spot on. But look, to see out this group, I think England will finish top. They should finish top. And I reckon the US. Will sneak into that second spot. I think they'll surprise a few people.
Chris doesn't fancy England's chances, but if England don't win, I think it's going to be tough. If England don't win tonight, I think the question marks will appear. I think it'll be England top, and I've been saying it all week. I think Iran. I've got a feeling about Iran. They play a very counter-intuitive game style, very quick, and I think people are sleeping on this group here. It's one of them names where it looks straightforward because England scream at you, but then you look at form, and you're like, you know what? Like USA, great comment here as well with the US. They're so unpredictable. They can be Brazil 1 minute, but then they can be, Burkina Faso the next week. They don't know who they are. They haven't got an identity, but they have a habit, and they've got a very good young side, the States.
And is the LeBron James of soccer playing for him?
He is. Pulisic he's there. He is the LeBron James of soccer.
One of the greatest scenes in American TV.
I've got to say, thank you very much for joining, Carlz. Much love to you. We've got in my house, my wife has actually purchased an Iran shirt, a US shirt, and a Welsh shirt. So she is supporting everyone in this group, but me and my mate Bryce here as well, doing the same. So it's good to see. But I think
I've got
England, Iran.
Yeah, I've got a bit of each way, Aussies and England. So look.
I'm back in Australia too. You see, they're my second team in this.
Well, we'll get to them. But look, for me, England and the USA, but I can see flip a coin, Iran or Wales, USA, any of them.
It's going to be a good one. But then we got on Group C, and I think here we're looking forward to this because I want to spend a bit of time. It's sentimental, this. This is a generational thing that we are about to... I don't think people are talking about it enough as well. This is Messi's last tournament. And I think that adds a layer to Argentina, but I think it also, this is an end of an era, this, and I think I'm looking at Mbappe and the younger kids will come on to talk to later, but I'm looking at them, this tournament, and saying, who's going to lead us into the next generation? Do you know what I mean? The next generation. And I think it's quite sad. Argentina, we're going to miss one of the all-time greats.
I'm with you 100%. I honestly don't think it's been spoken about nearly enough. Like you said, Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lewandowski. There's just some players there that we'll never see again. Whether or not Messi's definitely. I'll be making sure I watch every Argentinian game because I actually can't remember a World Cup that didn't feature Messi. Like that's just how it is. I think they'll smash their group, to be honest. I think they'll take the piss in this group. To me, it's pretty poor group. The end of the era thing you spoke about, I think it's just going to be a Messi show, to be honest.
Well, I mean, he kicks off when we finish, so you can go straight on. I'm looking forward to it as well. I remember the '94 Argentina side when Maradona left that. He was a late out after 2 games. I believe it said on the old injury sheet it was Maradona out in brackets cocaine. But honestly, Diego Maradona was one of the idols growing up for me. I'm that old, but I do think Messi for me simply unplayable on his day, and I'm looking forward to this. I think Argentina are going to go deep. So I think they win it. And I think I've got a feeling Lewandowski will turn it on for the Poles and they'll sneak in.
Yeah, I've got Argentina and Poland just for that reason. I'm not too sure that Mexico have a um, a standout that really screams that they're going to do anything, and then Saudi Arabia. I feel, no disrespect to our Saudi friends, but I think they're making up the numbers in that group for sure. So yeah, Argentina to take the piss, and I think Poland to sneak into that second.
We got Chris is backing in Mexico. Don't discredit the Mexicans. They're good. I know Carlz has got a life-size Argentina flag on her couch at the minute. So we're both tipping her boys to progress. But then we come on to the mighty Socceroos. We've got reigning champions France in this group. We've got we've got Australia. We've got the Danes, who are most people's fancies to be the dark horses, which I think is unfair on Denmark. I think Denmark have already proved they're a good team. I don't think they're dark horses. And we've got Tunisia, who I think are very underrated in this tournament as well. People aren't giving them a prayer. But what are you thinking about this group? We know France are decimated with injuries, that they have been a bit unlucky. Are they as weak as people think, or do you think beware of the sleeping bear?
Look, I think the depth in the French side is that you're not even going to notice. Not this stage of the tournament. Maybe as we get later and they come up against your Brazil, your Argentinas, and then you might start seeing their depth a little bit questioned. But they should still walk this group very, very comfortably, in my opinion. But I agree with what you said about Denmark. I think do not the talk about them being a smoky or a dark horse. I agree. It's so disrespectful. I think they are a wonderful, wonderful team who, will finish either first or second. I think France will go through, but I think they'll definitely get out of that group for sure.
Well, I mean, and as Carl says, Mbappe is dangerous. And I think when I saw Benzema out, I thought the biggest thing was, well, now it's Mbappe. Now Mbappe has to stop dining out on his reputation and actually lead his country to glory, and has to now put him on the shoulders. I think Tchouameni in the midfield with Camavinga, these are two hot properties of football. They have to do it now. They don't have Pogba to hide behind and players like that. And the Danes, I think we talked about Wales being a real strong team unity. For me, the Danes play with heart, with passion. They have a system. They're tough to break down. And I agree, as Michael says, last time they played, they won against France. So they fancied themselves. And I've got a feeling that France aren't as vulnerable as people think. And I don't think Denmark will be. It wouldn't shock me when Denmark play France if Denmark won 2-0.
Yeah. Look, I'm with you. I rate them highly. And I think with the whole Christian Eriksen story, I think that's just going to keep feeding that fuel. And I think Denmark's your typical team. Their motto should literally be, why not? Why not us? We're in the middle of the season. Players are tired. Why not us? If we work harder than everybody else, we could do it. And I rate Denmark highly. France and Mbappe, this could be the making of this young man. I think he's harshly criticized, to be honest. I think a lot of people, the tall poppy syndrome, and this is the generational thing. When it was Messi and Ronaldo coming through, we could do nothing but praise them. All of a sudden, Mbappe just cops criticism after criticism for whatever reason. I'm not too sure. But I think this is the time. I think he's going to absolutely explode. And then, dare I say it, at the end of this tournament, you'll be saying, football's in good hands.
I agree with you.
He's a wonderful player.
And it's a good thing as well, like Carl says, when France won it in 2018, he was voted their highest rated player. So, but he didn't get the kudos. It didn't feel like that. Like he did really, he had like an R9 World Cup, but no one talks about Mbappe like R9, that he fired them through. And I think now he has got that. The story's there for him. If he scores 6-7 goals this World Cup, you can't ignore him. And I agree. It seems there is a media argument that it's anyone but Mbappe. Do you know what I mean? Now Haaland's scoring goals. Haaland's the best striker in the world. And like Mbappe, the answer is plays in a farmers league. Plays in a farmers league. But this is the chance for Mbappe. But let's talk about the Aussies.
Yes.
Can they do it? I mean, I think Aussies have got to believe, first of all. I have been disheartened seeing a lot of Aussies slate their national side. You've got to believe, haven't you?
If there's one thing that pisses me off more than anything in the world, it's this modern day Australian who just tosses the towel in. That's un-Australian. That's not what we do. We fight it. Why not? Like, why can't we get out of the group? We've faced worse teams than this before, harder teams than this. Why not? I do agree. I think it's probably the weakest squad we've ever sent to a World Cup. But you know what? If you believe, why not? I don't think they will. But you know what? They're going to get back on that plane, get back to Australia, and I think they'll do us proud. I think they're not going to get blown out of the water. I think they're not going to get absolutely battered. I think they're actually going to fight and fight and fight and be in games. I think they'll be in games up to their eyeballs. They might get to halftime 0-0, and you think, geez, they're in this. So I back the boys in. I'll back anyone wearing green and gold. So I hope they do well. My concern with Australia is the fact that we don't seem to have players playing in top leagues around the world. And that seems to have dwindled away. It's gotten worse and worse. Every World Cup, we seem to have less players playing in the top leagues. And that just shows, we've got 7 players from the A-League or 8 players from the A-League that have been selected. And that's a concern for me. But, I mean, just believe. Go out there and take it up to them. Follow the game plan, make it hard for them to score. And, soccer, football, it's the craziest sport in the world.
Mate, amen. And you've got to remember 2014 World Cup. Costa Rica were drawn in Group D with England, Italy, and Uruguay. They were the worst ranked side in that group, and they topped that group. Topped that group, and a lot of teams were talking who qualifies, Uruguay, England, or Italy. It's definitely them 3 teams. 2 of the 3. Costa Rica are going to be the whipping boys of that league. And Costa Rica managed to get to the quarters that year. We've got to remember they performed.
Look, and I just wanted to put it out there as well. And I think, especially for a lot of younger Australian football fans and soccer fans, I think the fact that Australia make the World Cup in itself is a celebration. And somewhere along the line, I'm not too sure when it was, maybe it was when they made their 3rd in a row or whatever, but somewhere along the lines, it lost that absolute thrill to make the World Cup. And I don't want to have a defeatist attitude to say it's a good result, us just being there, because that is a defeatist attitude. But the reality is it's fact. I still, to this day, I can remember I cried when Aloisi scored the penalty. I cried when Josh Kennedy headed it in. I cried when we beat Honduras. And I cried when Andrew Redmayne saved the penalty, because Australia making a World Cup should not be just put down as it's a fait accompli, it's a given. And I feel like, and especially speaking to younger fans who's been blessed, they've been blessed in a golden generation of Socceroos playing World Cups, winning Asian Cups, all this stuff. They actually don't understand how big it is that Australia made the World Cup. And I think our job as Australians, we need to keep reminding the younger people that the fact that we are over there in a World Cup is a fucking massive result as it is, regardless of what happens in the group stages and all that. That is huge. And I think that's been lost a little bit.
Amen, mate. Honestly, I mean, I'm a POM. Australia, I'm back in here. I want them to do well. Really want them to do well. And I have them happy memories of Tim Cahill scoring for you. I remember the pub going mental in the UK. Like, everyone was suddenly Australian just after a Ashes setup. But in this one, it's quite an easy group for me because I like the Danes because of Michael, and I like Australia because I live here. Turkey, I can't stand because of Tunisia. I can't stand because a Tunisian girl broke my heart when I was 18, so they can get fucked. And I'm English. I can't stand the French. So, I mean, ideally, it's Australia, Denmark 1 and 2. But I am going to say Denmark 1, France too. I think Denmark win this group.
I like it. I've got France, then Denmark, but yeah, I'd like to see Denmark top the group. But I'm with you. It's an easy group to support. Yeah, you're going to be going into each game knowing who you're going for. That's for sure.
Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'll be rooting for the Aussies. It's going to be tough though, but I mean, like you say, as an Australian resident of this great nation, my aim is I don't want us to be blown away. I want Australia to be real competitive and hopefully inspire the next generation. Because I agree with you. I don't think the press are giving them enough credit for getting there. And I don't think it's defeatist. You've got to remember the top 16 countries in the world, football is their numero uno. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That's all they care about. So I think it's a huge thing. I want to see, though, on the back of this, maybe a fighting draw with the French, maybe an injury time winner from Mbappe and Australia go down 2-1. But I want to go to work next week and see Aussie kids on the school holidays kicking soccer balls. I'm going to get them out of the group in 18 years' time. I'm going to be that player. So I agree with you. I hope it inspires a nation.
Yeah, and it should, and you know, we all have to do our little bit. We are fighting. We all love Aussie rules. We get it, but we are all fighting this battle to get these kids into world football, the greatest sport on the planet. I don't care what anyone says. And what I'd love to see from the Australians, be Australian. What are we known for? Get in tough, get in dirty, chop them, drag your studs down their legs. I don't care. Just be dirty. Make them, when they walk off that pitch after 90 minutes, make sure they can't play the next game because they're that cooked. That's what Australians do. We just get in and get dirty and just do it. Get it done.
Mate, just got to fight it out. And I'm gutted Boyle's not there. Literally, best chant in world football, I've got to say. I was excited about going to the Crown Casino, finding some French people and singing Starman to some French. But unfortunately, it doesn't let us do it. But then we've got Group P. Now, Group P, I look at this group and think if this was 1998, it's like Fap Town. This what a group! What a group! Yeah. But we've got the Spanish, we've got Costa Rica, we've got Japan, and we've got Germany. And I've never thought these words would leave my mouth. And if my granddad is listening up in the heavens, I apologise. But I'm actually intrigued about seeing this German squad.
Not a great group for all you history buffs out there. It's a few harsh memories, but no, look, it's interesting. You know, Spain, they're not the powerhouse they used to be. They don't strike the fear of God into teams anymore. Japan, I feel like, are just making up the numbers a little bit. And again, this German team, I don't know. To me, this is almost, dare I say it, the weakest group going, because I just don't know what to expect, especially from Germany. But I just don't know what to expect from them.
I'm really impressed with the Germans as well because they've got Masala there. And for those who are aware, he is actually English. And never in my lifetime did I think I'd see some guy that could play for England turn out for Germany. That's something I never expected I would witness in my lifetime. But there it is. But I agree with you. I look at the Germans, though, and I think you've got to give the Germans respect at all times because they have an uncanny knack of being able to do this. They've had a few bad World Cups in history, but I always think when you don't talk about Germany, that's when they're dangerous.
Yeah, they find a way.
I look at their team and I think it's quite tasty, this. And I think Spain are on the other hand. I think people are remembering Tiki-Taka when it was new and exciting. And I just see a team that has a lot of the ball. Can it do anything, though, with that ball? So, I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. Germany won, Spain too. But I don't think Spain are as good as the media are pushing.
And I think you say that, you know, our brains are trained to just see this group and say Germany won, Spain too. But I don't know. I just don't know. I can honestly see them drawing against each other, which really opens the back door for one of the other two teams to sneak a second spot.
I will say this, and I'll put this on record. No one would be happier in the world, apart from maybe my late grandfather, if Germany didn't make it out of this group. I will be happy. I will find any German, and I will let them know quite happily about it. But
and Michael's right. Traditionally, they're good tournament. They're a good tournament team. So
they're a strong side. I just think Spain, when I look at Spain, I've seen the pundits and they're all raving about Spain, but this is 2022. This ain't 2012, 2016. This is a different sport. I don't think Spain are as good as people make out. And I think we've seen Pep adapt the tiki-taka style at Man City. It's totally different to the Barca style of play. I don't think that high ball retention, making you knock it around, bore you out, works anymore. And I've watched a lot of Japanese football. I enjoy watching Japan because I think their second kit is the sexiest kit in this World Cup, just quietly. Yeah. They're a low ball retention side that just go, go, go. And Costa Rica are a team that their coach, he doesn't piss about Suarez. He wants them to go as well. So I could see Spain. I don't think Spain, if they go 1-0 down, have the capabilities to bring themselves back in the game.
I'm with you. I agree 100%. It looks easy on paper, but that's a watch this space group for sure.
Oh, come on, at the moment. La Liga might be technical football the best, but we all know if it ain't the EPL, it ain't football, mate.
Move on.
You can put me on record for that as well.
I got a massive argument on Twitter. Surprise about that. But anyway, moving on.
Do you know what I mean? And but I think 1 and 2 Germany. Are you agreed with that? Germany and Spain? Or are you going to tip a shock?
Yeah, no, I'll go Germany and Spain. But
this
my reputation's
here,
on line.
Mate, I agree. But this one here, I really enjoy. I like this group. Belgium, probably the most talked about side. Like I know we talk about England being the most disappointing side at a World Cup, but I think the squad Belgium have had, I am surprised they haven't had greater success because that side is, and they've done well, but I think they've got another level to go. You've got Canada, the surprise packet of this group, Croatia, great World Cup history, and we've got Morocco as well. Ziyech's wonderful side. How do you see this group going?
Look, with what you said about Belgium, drives me insane about them because I feel like the last 2 World Cups and 2 Euros, I've tipped them to at least make a semi-final or maybe go all the way or whatever. And they've just been disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. Very similar to what I said about Wales. Any team that's got De Bruyne in it, you can back him. It's an interesting group. I can actually see Croatia topping this group, to be honest. I just feel like there's something about this Croatian side. I can see them topping it, and I think Belgium will get 2. Great to see Morocco in there. Some good players playing for them. Aguerd, West Ham player, and obviously Canada, who we don't see too much of. But no, I'm going Croatia to top it in a bit of a shock.
You know what? I'm going to tip a shock here as well, right? But I will just say this, and I'd love to ask the audience and you, Faz. Are we in agreement here that there's 2 stories here? One, we're going to lose Luka Modric, who I think is the most underrated footballer in this golden generation of footballers. 100%. I don't think he gets talked about enough how 100%. Good that footballer is. But also, Kevin De Bruyne, in my opinion, the best footballer on the planet in the last 12 months.
Yeah, you're right. Modric, what a player, and he's just one of those players. He's just gone in the shadow of Messi and Ronaldo, and unfortunately, I don't think people will have realised how special he is until he won't be there anymore. And you're right with De Bruyne; he's world class. And I think when I mentioned Mbappe before, now it's time. Now, no more Messi, Ronaldo's. We all know what's happening there. It's coming to an end. I think it's time for him to take the world, by the scruff of the neck and say, "Here I am. I'm going to lead Belgium to glory. I'm going to do what Hazard couldn't do."
Mate, that being said, I'm going to tip the shock, right? So John Herdman coaches Canada. the only coach in the history of our beautiful game to lead a women's side and a men's side to a World Cup final. Now, I am fascinated by Canada, the quickest side on the ball in world football. I've got a feeling that Belgium will top this group with ease, and I think Canada are sneaking second. I've got a feeling that Davis and Jonathan David, their team is full of people with two first names. And there's two things I know about people with two first names. One, they're not trustworthy. And two, they book trends. So I think Canada, they're my shock tip. I think they knock Croatia out, and they are the second team. And John Herdman continues his glittering career. And I think we'll be linked with some big-time jobs after this, because what he's done with Canada, I think, is phenomenal. And I think they're a very resilient side. And I think they'll surprise sides on the counter. They'll surprise them.
Yeah, no, I can't argue with that. I like it. I still feel Croatia have one last push in them.
Mate, it's a shock. It's logical Croatia finish, and I'm not displacing them. I've just got a feeling that Belgium are too good. And I just think Canada, I think they're going to be under the radar. We always have every year as well a team you don't think are qualifying, do. And I look at Canada and it just screams to me, no one's giving them a prayer. I think they could maybe do it because they do give it a go. John Herdman's sides, they give it a go. And that's all you've got to do at this. All you've got to do is you've just got to give it a go.
Yep, no, I'm with you. And I thought we agreed that the team that we didn't think would qualify that's going to qualify as Australia. I thought we agreed on that. But anyway.
Mate. And then we come on to the group with the superstars of this competition. Do you know what I mean? The superstars of the competition. Brazil. We've got Neymar here. Is this Neymar's coming of age? Is this 30 years old now? He's in that almost prime senior statesman type mentality. He's got some very good young players as well, feeding him the ball. You've got Cameroon steeped in football in history. Serbia, the dark horses. And I think these are a dark horse of the tournament. And you've got the Swiss as well, who are a decent football nation. What does people think in chat about this group? And I'd imagine we're all in agreement Brazil qualify for this group.
Yeah, I love this. Love this Brazil squad. I think they're primed. I think they're primed to go. There's a lot of talk about France and some injuries here and all that, and who can do. I think Brazil are absolutely primed. I think they should walk this group. Whoever finishes second, I honestly, dead set, those three is pretty even. You can throw a blanket over all three of them. So that's what makes this group quite interesting, is those games against each other. But no, Brazil should walk this. But yeah, I agree with throw a blanket over the rest.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Brazil. I mean, I'm. You know what? I think Brazil win this easy. But I've learned my lesson for those who are long-time viewers of me and Faz, and I'm never doubting a side with Mitrovic in it. Do you know what I mean? I can't diss him anymore. He's world class. I was wrong. He will fire Serbia to second place in this.
Mate, I cannot believe that man. Of course, Mitrovic. They might even top the group with him because that's how little we rate that man.
He was the first person in our World Cup fantasy that I picked as well. You know, as soon as I scrolled down in the forwards, and I was like, "Where are you? Where are you? Off you go! Welcome to the team."
You're not going to believe it, but I've got him too.
I was like, I can't doubt him anymore. I'm a believer. I keep denying him, and he keeps scoring.
Love him. But Brazil to top it, and hopefully Serbia for 2. That'd be my go.
There we are. Yeah, people are agreeing as well. We've got Carlz and Peter. They think Serbia are the dark horse. I've just got a feeling that no one rates them. And again, these yeah, do you know what I mean? I've been there. I've said he's the worst footballer on the planet, most overrated. And evidently, he's the second best goal scorer in the EPL. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, got to count for something. It's got to count. And then we finish in probably the most what you are going to get sick of Group H because of CR7. Like already, the only team I know for sure is at the World Cup is Portugal because they're in my news feed in everywhere. But we've got Ghana, we've got Uruguay, we've got South Korea, and we've got Portugal. And thoughts on this group, chat and Faz? And again, sad time. This is the last time we see greatness on our screens in an international tournament.
Thank goodness for Ronaldo, because this group to me is the most boring group in the whole thing. I've got no interest in this group whatsoever other than Ronaldo. I think Ghana and Korea, I think, yeah, okay, there are better teams not at the World Cup than them. And I think Uruguay are just a disappointment after another. And I'm sure the Liverpool fans will get in my ear and say, "Oh, watch Darwin," and I'm like, "Yeah, I've watched him, and I don't rate him." So, yeah, I think Ronaldo FC will walk this group, and what happens after that, I don't really care because I feel nothing for the other three teams.
Well, I mean, I've got to say, I think Portugal will win it, this group. And I think it's also worth noting, this is the last time we see Cavani and Luis Suarez as well, which Suarez, a phenomenal footballer as well. Another Modric type who probably doesn't get the kudos he deserves, who's had a phenomenal career.
You're right. And I guess with it being Suarez, last tournament result adds a bit of bite to this group.
Good pun.
And but again, he is that player who is horrendously underrated and probably known more for his off-field, on-field, behaviors. But I just think the likes of he and Cavani, they're not still at the same level as what they were. I just feel like they're just going to kind of limp through a little bit.
You've got Darwin Núñez as well. Good spot, Pete. I mean, he's hated by Liverpool fans, but I rate Darwin Núñez.
Yeah.
Not too sure why Liverpool fans think he's a waste of money. I think he's an absolutely exceptional footballer. But that being said, Portugal 1, Uruguay 2.
Easy. Yep. Easy for me.
I mean, but I think that fact, there's a bit of sentiment here, but we go on then to the Golden Boot winners. So everyone in your chat, who is going to be the top goal scorer of this tournament?
Well, it's easy, isn't it? It's obviously Mitrovic.
Can't wait for him to score 9.
Yeah, I think my head and my heart are telling me two different things. My head tells me I think it's going to be the coming of age for Mbappe. I think he's really going to just, especially early in the tournament, in the group stage, almost have the golden boot sewn up in the group stage. I think he's going to absolutely take the piss. However, I do believe in fairy tales. I do. I know I'm a grown man, but I believe in fairy tales, and I believe that Messi. I think Messi is just going to give us one final hurrah, and I think he'll really stamp his foot down. The argument will be over. I think he'll win the Golden Boot and lift the trophy, and Argentina win the World Cup, and the fairy tale's complete. I think that I feel it.
Mate, I agree, but I think I've been thinking long and hard about this. I've put a lot of thought, right? And I've got a reasoning before I give you my answer. But my reasoning is he's angry. He's hurt. Everyone's against him. He's playing for a big one last contract.
I know where you go with this.
Sole scorer. Viva Ronaldo. I reckon Mr. Ronnie, he's going to wind back the clock. I don't think Portugal will win it, but I do think that CR7 is going to fire this tournament. I think anyone who doubts him is mental. I just think Ronaldo, when he's got a bee in his bonnet, I think Ronaldo is going to score a lot of goals for Portugal. I don't think Portugal are going to win it, but same thinking as Faz. I think these former stars are just going to lay that benchmark, a bit like Federer and Nadal do, where you just think, who's the next guy? And then they just remind you, class is permanent. I just think them two are going to kill it.
I love it, and I would be happy with that as well. But I just, like I said, I just feel that there's just going to be one last, all right, you're next. You know what I mean? One last little hurrah and say, you've still got 4 years to catch us, because we're that good.
Do you know what I mean? I love it. And Lockie, what you mean Harry Kane, sadly? Tell you what, Harry Kane, 7 penalties. Right. 7 of the best penalties you're going to say. Do you know what I mean? I think, you know what? I did the actual fantasy today, the predictor, and I couldn't help but have Argentina-Portugal was the final. Can you imagine Argentina-Portugal final?
Oh, it'd be worth just going. It'd be worth going without beer just to watch it.
Getting arrested for a dodgy chant. And who do we think is going to burst onto the scene? You've got Michael Owen there. We've had some great players as well, like James Rodriguez in 2014. He burst onto the scene.
What a cup that was.
It was as well, wasn't it? Who do we think is going to be the player that really becomes a big name? And looking at them big European leagues, who's going to come out of nowhere?
Yeah, look, I don't want to steal your thunder because you actually messaged the name today, and I was thinking about this name for a while. I think Jude Bellingham. I think he could really explode. But also, and again, keeping with the England theme, I think Declan Rice will put his name. If not, I mean, everyone knows the quality is, but I think he's going to put his name on the world stage, because my belief is England cannot do anything remotely close to any type of knockout part unless Declan Rice is their best player on the ground. I think he's the best player in England, and I just think, he's really going to show the rest of the world, and unfortunately not be at West Ham after this World Cup, because that's just, he's going to absolutely blow up.
Mate, I think that's fair. I do think Jude Bellingham, I think it's a good shout. I think for England to progress, Jude Bellingham and Mr. Rice, they've got a lot of work to do. That's probably the weak area for England. Who's going to break back lines? And you're looking at that combination between them two. We have seen little bits and pieces, but a lot's going to come down. I'm going to surprise people here, but I'm going to go with Breel Embolo from Switzerland. I think he had a very good start to his career. Now at Monaco after a bit of an injured Bundesliga. I've got a feeling that this guy is really going to show. And I think with a lot of teams looking for a striker, looking at Man United as well, this could be a guy who's the right age, just turning 25, the right age to score 4 or 5 goals and put himself in the market for a move to one of the major European clubs. And I think it's written for him.
Yeah, I like it. That's a great shout. What about any young Socceroos out there? Remember Daniel Arzani, the last World Cup, kind of put his name on the stage and ended up getting a big deal, and unfortunately how it's ended for him. Any Socceroos tickle your fancy? I know there's a young Melbourne City boy going over there, Marco Tilio, who's of that Arzani, it's an absolute off the bench, pocket rocket, who if he can find a way to perform, especially against a France, especially against a Denmark, could he find his way into a European contract out of the A-League?
Well, I think I've got to say I agree with you. I think Marco Tilio is probably the youngest player there that's going to get game time. We know Garang's there as well, isn't he? But I don't think he'll play a lot of games, and he's already at Newcastle United. But I do like, got to say, I do see a lot of him as well when I'm watching highlights and stuff. Joel King, he's currently in Denmark, the left back of yours. He's only 22.
Yeah.
But he's one that I think plays that style of football that's really suited to top European football.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and a good, strong Australian left back. We know historically Australian defenders tend to make it in Europe more so than Australian mids or attackers. So other than the golden generation. So yeah, no, good. I just wanted to throw a little bit of a Socceroo love out there and see if we can just get. That's what it's all about. Getting these players. The more players we can get out of the A League. No offense, I love the A League as much as anyone. I watch nearly every game, but the more Australian players we can get out of the A League into these European leagues, I think it's obviously only going to be better.
Mate, I agree. Ben, to answer your question, we have just signed a sponsorship agreement, so that will be coming soon. But the other name I've got to throw out as well, because my mate Colin will kill me, but he is a big fan of Riley McCree as well. He's a Middlesbrough fan, and he did PM me the other day to say I'll be supporting your adoptive land because McCree is the best player I've seen since Gaza. And I was like, big call. Big call.
Well, to be fair, he scored one of the most ridiculous goals I've ever seen when he was playing for Newcastle Jets in the A League. A scorpion kick that came out of nowhere. No, good little player, good handy player. Almost that Tommy Rogic replacement in that attacking role, midfield attacking role. So yeah, good call for young Riley McCree.
Do you know what I mean? And that was the big talking point, wasn't it? Obviously, he refused to play. Do you know what I mean? Well, he didn't. He turned down it. But Volpato, I believe you're talking about. What was everyone's thoughts on that? What's everyone's thoughts on that?
Look, I'll be honest. I don't know anything about him. To be honest, I didn't really know much about him. Got offered to play for the Socceroos. Maybe his heart is set on playing for Italy. I don't know. Has he ever, what's his history? Is he from Australia, or has he just got an Australian parent? I don't know what his history is. He clearly has his mind on wanting to play for Italy, and hey, fair credit. Italy don't even make World Cups, mate. So good luck to
you. You know what? This might surprise people as a pom, because even though KP is probably one of our best cricketers for England, I was strongly against him playing for England. I am a huge advocate of, I don't think unless you're schooled there. If you're schooled there, I'll say. But looking at Christian's story, he was born in Campbelltown in New South Wales. And do you know what I mean? I believe he's got Italian parents, but he was educated here, moved over there when he was 16. For me, right, and I'll say this, my kids, they're Australian. I will forbid them to play for England. Do you know what I mean? I will forbid them. They're not English, they're Australian. Do you know what I mean? That is the pom. You're Australian, and you can love my culture, but your culture is Australia, and be proud of that. So I agree the arguments. Adrian here saying he was treated poorly in the Australian soccer system. You see, I'd counter that, though, if I was Christian, and I don't know him, and I'm sure he's a lovely lad. This is your chance to be a superstar and change that toxic culture. Yeah. And you look at some of the players from weaker nations who have carried that nation. A great example will be Samuel Eto'o, who has gone in now to being the president there, and he's ploughing money at their youth development, stopping young Cameroonians going to Europe and then gaining passports there through passport programs and trying to keep it in and improve the system. And I look at it this way, Volpato, when he plays for Roma, he's a very exciting player. You can see the potential. He has the chance to inspire a generation, because I look at this Australian team and I look at the the Newcastle player. He's a defender. Yep. No one grows up wanting to be a centre-back. Volpato is it's harder to attract in it, but he plays in the forward for Roma in the Serie A, a top league. He could be the poster boy and literally inspire a generation where his voice can't not be heard anymore, and he can demand change at the highest level.
I'm with you 100%. He's a young lad, and obviously, old head on young shoulders is a famous line that we'll always mention. But to me, I mentioned it before, as us as Australians, we have a job to do. We have a job to bring up these younger people to support the game, to support and it was easy when I was growing up. It was easy. You had Viduka, you had Kuhl, you had the superstar players, that golden generation. I was 16, when we made the World Cup, and you had that golden generation. It's harder now. I think the A-League certainly helps because you've got these players, but their idols aren't superstars. So I think any player who represents the country, whether you were born in Australia, whether you're like Martin Boyle and the first time you stepped in Australia was when you played a friendly or whatever, as soon as you pull on the shirt, you actually have a job. Your obligation, it's not to win soccer matches. That's fine. Your job is to make sure that we don't need to be scouring every corner of the globe to find players. Your job is to make sure that the next generation is inspired. And unfortunately, it's failed. It's clearly failed because this Socceroos team should be better than what it was, in the first World Cup. The first World Cup of this stretch we made. It should be better, but it's not. And I think, so I look at this young Christian and I think you're right. And someone who's going to turn their back on my country and the sport, my favorite sport, the sport that I've grown up loving, I really don't have the time of day for him because, like I said, you have a job to do. And his job, being Australian, is to fix the sport in this country.
Amen. Honestly, I wish him the best of luck, but honestly, I can't wait for my kids to turn out and play Ashes cricket for Australia and boo them. They celebrate their Test century versus Pakistan, and then they play England and boo them and sledge them myself. But no, I agree with you. I find it I understand Christian is a young kid, and obviously, if Australia is being absolutely horrendous in its football system, I understand the animosity there. But obviously, as an old man, it's easy for me to say, but I would have loved him to say, you know what, I'm going to become a superstar and I'm going to, I'm going to change this corrupt system. So the next 10 years, these boys are going to come through the system and Australia's going to reward them, praise them, nurture them, and make this country proud because, Australia, I'm a POM, but it's one of the greatest sporting nations on the planet for me. And I want to see the best play for Australia, and that's it. But we're coming to the important one. Who's winning the World Cup?
Well, I said it before with the believing in fairy tales. So the sentimental side of me says Argentina to win it. But I do believe it's probably France's to lose, in my opinion. I still think they're the best team over there. I still think I said earlier that Brazil were primed, ready to go. I still think France, they're proven winners. They win everything that they go to. But I'm going to put my heart out on the line and say Argentina because I do believe that their fairy tale is going to happen.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Aussies from POM. That's what they'll be called. That's what they'll be called, Adrian.
That's a great call. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, who's going to win the World Cup? I've got my pre-tournament pick was Brazil. Do you know what I mean? I stand by that. It's 20 years since they've last won one, which alarms me. Do you know what I mean? Because as a young boy growing up, it was always Brazil. Do you know what I mean? I was privileged to be born in a generation where every best player in the history of the game played through that nation. It was just like a cheat code. When you ever got FIFA, you always used to fight to be Brazil. Now I'm Brazil.
Yeah.
I'm Brazil. So I'm going to stick by him. I think Neymar's that other type of player. We've discussed players that get penged on by the press for no reason. I feel like Mbappe and Messi, since moving to Paris, everyone's just forgot about them. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like Messi doesn't exist. Neymar doesn't exist. Mbappe doesn't exist because they play in France. But for me, you are looking at 3 of the 10 best players in the world. Do you know what I mean? And Messi, for me, is the GOAT. Even though I love Ronaldo, Messi, for me, I've since Maradona, I don't think there's been a player that can hold a candle to him. Messi is another level of footballer. So, yeah, I think Brazil win it, and I think Neymar finally gets the respect. I think he needs a world championship, a World Cup, so people start giving him a little bit of respect.
Yeah, I'm with you. And like I mentioned before with the Mbappe thing, I think it just seems to be the way the world is now. As soon as someone's good, everyone's finding a million reasons to bring them down rather than the one reason to praise them, and that's they're fucking good footballers. Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like we always talk about this. Like I was saying this the other day on a Man United podcast that my mate runs. People slag Ronaldo off for not tracking back. And I was like, when was the last time you've seen Neymar, Mbappe, or Messi enter the defensive part of the ground? I was like, their coaches create systems so they don't have to. And part of the criticism of Paris is they've got 3 attacking forwards that don't track back. So I was like, it seems we changed the goalposts, but Neymar, if Neymar was English, he'd start. If Neymar was Australian, he'd start. If he was Spanish, German, he would be the first name on the team sheet, as would be Mbappe, as would be Messi. So I hope Neymar wins it as well. Like, and part of me wants Ronaldo or Messi. I think they're too good as well to retire without a World Cup.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. And I think part of me wonders what the reactions to Ronaldo and Messi would be if they were 19, 20 now doing what they were doing back then. If they were doing it now, what would be the world's response? Because I just think we're just stuck in this negative vortex of crap.
Well, I mean, I saw an article the other day saying, "Oh, Haaland's good, but he's got KDB passing to him," and I'm like, come on, like, give the kids some kudos.
Yeah, I'm with you. And what a shame that he's not over at the World Cup. But anyway.
Well, he would be if he followed my Christian Volporto rule. He was born in Leeds. He's English.
Yeah.
He's about as Norwegian as I am.
I love it.
You'd question if Norway played me up top with Haaland, going, Dan Williams, he hardly looks Norwegian.
I love it.
Well, that is all we got time for. Go and switch SBS on because Argentina are about to destroy Saudi Arabia, and we get to say goodbye to Messi in this emotional World Cup. We will be back later this week. We'll recap the fixtures and we'll have a look how we're going. And until next time, everyone, stay safe. Enjoy the World Cup. See you later.
See you guys.